Well, San Francisco hammered another team 45-29 over Arizona. Brock Purdy threw for, 4 touchdowns. That's what he does. And with Dak Prescott struggling, Purdy's going to get a lot of MVP talk. But I still contend that Christian McCaffrey is the Niners MVP, not Purdy. So I think it's hard to win the league MVP when you're not the most valuable player on your own team. Christian McCaffrey is the world's best running back. Brock Purdy's a good quarterback, maybe very good. Maybe I'm underselling him. But I see otherworldly talent here. The NFL's reluctance to give running backs the MVP award has now risen to comical. He's on pace to have 24 touchdowns and 2,200 yards on a team that is stacked. Kittle, Ayuk, Debo. They're stacked with weapons. And he could finish with a touchdown and a half a game and 2,200 yards. That's unbelievable. And this league is reluctant to feed running backs, to embrace running backs, to pay running backs. And yet San Francisco is 1988 football. They are old school. He's the typewriter reemerging. Feed him the ball. I think 20 years from now, it's going to look really silly if this Niner team was to win a Super Bowl and you're going to be like, my God, Christian McCaffrey had 24 touchdowns in 2020, and they had Debo and Ayuk and Kittle and Hall of Famers. He didn't win the MVP. No, they give it to Brock Purdy. Where's he at? Well, they didn't want to pay him eventually 3 years later, so he's bouncing around the league. Like, at some point, are we ever going to embrace a running back? Like, if you're not going to embrace Christian McCaffrey, and I've said all this nonsense about running backs not getting paid, yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. They just don't get paid as much. They don't get paid second, and third, and fourth contracts. But if you're not going to embrace Christian McCaffrey, if you're not going to consider him for MVP, then make up new guidelines. Because what you're seeing, I think he's the most talented running back ever. Now, I think Barry Sanders could run like nothing I've ever seen, and Walter Payton's up there too. But in terms of blocking and catching and making people miss and running past them and running and power and finesse, it's as good as anything I've ever seen. And he's the best player on the team. On a team with a Bosa and a Kittle and a Debo. He's the best player on the team. 24 touchdowns on pace. 2,200 yards. In this era is insane. It makes no sense. And if you're going to be historically amazing, then you should be the recipient of honors and awards. That's why we have these honors and awards. They go into books. They go into museums. And they go into Hall of Fames. And you take your kids and you're like, oh, yeah, it was one of the great years of all time. Not because a quarterback handed him the ball and threw him swing passes. And I like Purdy. This is not an anti-Purdy. It's a pro-CMC. It's a pro-Christian McCaffrey. It's the best player on the planet at his position, having the best years, a top 10 year all time. And running backs don't have top 10 years anymore. Like, that's over. That's the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. That's not what they do. So to do this now on a roster that is stacked is just insane to me. So we had told you our favorite play of the week was Detroit back home against Denver. I like Denver. This was a tough spot. Lions had been humiliated. Lions are great at home. They're a very good dome team. So Sean Payton now can't even hide his frustration with Russell Wilson. Can't hide it. He banged on him at the podium earlier in the year about the wristbands. I was banging on him this weekend. Not only are they opposite personalities, Russell is relentlessly optimistic. Sean is authentic, emotional, demanding, and critical. But Russell Wilson isn't Breeze the passer or Taysom Hill the athlete. So Sean Payton isn't getting elite with either one of them. And I got to tell you this relationship with Breeze and Payton was so great that invariably this was going to be a disappointment. And, I was hopeful he could turn Russell around, and he has. You're getting a lot of Russell in Seattle, but I was just hoping it wouldn't be combative because they're literally different people. I know both. They're totally different people. But now it's combative. And he's right. It is. None of our business. We can ask about it, but he does not have to provide an answer. But I just think these are different people. I don't think it's a perfect fit. I think if you ask Sean Payton, and he now has the power in the building, he's helped fix the defense. He's got Russell being as good as he can possibly be. I think he would move off him and take a huge cap hit for a year. But the thing, what's happening is Sean Payton had Drew Brees for years, and it was a perfect marriage. Their personalities are demanding and intense and authentic, and it was perfect. And so this invariably was not going to be great. But Drew Brees was a little small, and Sean worked around that, and design plays, and Breeze hit on them. The plays are there. Sean Payton has a history with Breeze that he hit those things 95% of the time, and he's not hitting them. So between the personality clash, the enormous salary cap hit, it doesn't work.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.